So once again, we're going to be doing Flexbox. Okay, so if you want, you can look for Flexbox CSS on Google. Okay, so this is how a CSS Flexbox looks like. Okay, so it helps us to place our items wherever we want, and that is also makes us well, it also makes our website responsive. Okay, so the purple part is actually our Windows, our browser, okay? And the yellow parts are going to be our elements on the web page. Okay, so we can align them vertically or we can align them horizontally, but mostly horizontally. Okay, so let us begin. And we begin with by creating two documents, once again, index.html and style.css. And I'm going to create it. One moment. Okay. Index.html and style.css. Now it's fine. And if I write here, once again, exclamation mark is going to build our structure for us. Okay, so this is how our website is going to look like. Okay, and the first thing I would like to introduce you today is containers. Okay, and if we go back to our website, by the way, it's very nice to open this website. It's called CSS Tricks. One moment. This one, CSS Tricks. It says a complete guide to Flexbox. Okay, so let us open it. And it says it's a comprehensive guide to CSS Flexbox layout. Okay, and it explains everything about Flexbox, focusing on all the different possible properties for the parent element and the child elements. Okay, and let us go back, or let us, sorry, scroll down a little bit. There is a background, a little bit of background. We can, you can read about this one, but the main things are, well, containers and items inside of it. So the basic terminology that we are going to use is flex container and flex items. And of course, we have what we call main size, cross size, and so on, but mostly just call it the beginning and the end. Okay, so all we need to understand is flex container and flex items. Okay, and the properties for the parent flex container. Okay, and the first well, CSS property that I would like to introduce you today is called display. Okay, it actually turns our layout from a standard CSS layout to display flex, or to flexbox layout. Okay, and let us do the following. Okay, so we are going to
Sorry, teacher, for interrupting you. Can you say the password for that? And is it the same like from the last lesson?
Don't worry about it. I will share it a little bit later. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So once again, let's go back to our code. And here we would like to write the following. We will need to write two div tags. Okay. And inside of it, we are going to say class, and we just, let's call it container. Okay. So most of the things that you're going to see in CSS, let it be flexbox layout, let it be bootstrap, let it be CSS box model, or other things, they're mostly going to be called containers. Okay, so do not be surprised if you will see not only CSS flexbox called container, but also something else. Okay, anyway, so we're going to create two div elements. One div element, and we're going to provide a class called container. And inside of our CSS, we're going to say container, and we're going to say display flex. So, and if we open our document, one moment. So nothing happens here. We don't see anything. So what do you think we should do? We should definitely upload some pictures. Okay. So inside of our div element now, let us do the following. Okay. So we're going to upload pictures, and I just shared a link file, okay, with links to different pictures, okay? And let us use that link. So the first one is staticpixels.com, and there is a herd for nature. So I'm going to copy this link, and in the image source file, I'm going to say this one. And for our images, let it be with let it be, I don't know, 300 pixels, and the height let it be 200 pixels, but we can change it later anyway. So the first picture is this one, then I will do for others as well. And the last picture is if I save it and refresh. So those are the very big pictures, and you can see, well, it doesn't fit inside of our website. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to copy this one and place it inside of our container now, okay, like this. And if we save and refresh it, sorry, we need to change the width. Yes, I forgot we haven't connected our CSS. So now let's go back to our page. Okay, this is how our pictures looks like. Okay, very nice, very high resolution pictures. Okay, so if we do not wrap it around container, let's say it's going to be in your body, but it's not going to be wrapped inside of your container. Okay, this is how it's going to look like. So it's going to look like this. But if we are going to wrap it, if we're going to put it inside of our container with the property display flex, okay, this is how it's going to look like for the first. Okay, so now we need to scroll on the left, but we're going to fix that. Okay, and let's go back to CSS tricks. Okay, And here, the next property I would like to introduce is called flex direction. So you can either place your items vertically or horizontally. So all you have to do is just provide this property flex direction, and then you can say row by default, and then you have row reverse. So it's going to be start from right, and then it's going to turn well to left. Okay, so if we will do so, let us show you. So if we will say row reverse, well, guess that right now our elephant goes, oh sorry, our horse goes first. But if we will do row reverse, our horse will be at the end. Okay? So now we need to scroll on the left, and it doesn't even work for me. So row reverse is something not very used. It's not used very often, but it is here. Or you have to remember it. And the last one is column and column reverse. So if you do so, well, your items are going to be placed vertically, okay, one by one. And this is also a very popular choice. But right now we're going to stick with the default value of row. Okay, so let us put row, and let us get it back. So the next property, very useful property I would like to show you, is called flex wrap. Okay, and by default, flex items we all try to fit into one line. So you can see they all fit in one line. All we have to do is we can provide a flex wrap property, and it will wrap. Well, flex items will wrap into multiple lines from top to bottom. Okay, so all you have to do is say flex wrap, and you can say wrap. That's it. So now they are not going to be placed vertically, so we don't need to scroll it from left to right. All we have to do is to just get our pictures like this. Okay. So now our pictures placed vertically. And one more thing I would like to show now. So if you check your well, if you try to kind of resize your browser, you will see that if two pictures doesn't fit inside of one line, it will automatically well, drop it to the next line. Okay, and well, if there is enough space for three, you will get three items on the same line. So this is what we call a little bit of responsiveness. So now it responds to the size of our device. Okay, so of course on your phone it will look more like probably two items or even just one. So probably you will get something like this, and then you will need to scroll. So it's also already, it's very nice property, and it allows us to put our items vertically and make it, oh sorry, horizontally, and make it responsive. Next one is, let's move a little bit. And the next one is justify content. Okay, so it allows us to put our items horizontally, depending where we would like it to be. So by default, it's going to be flex start, but we can also use flex end, center. We can place space between our items. We can evenly distribute space between our items, so it's going to be around. And also the last one, evenly distribute spaces between our items. Okay, so justify content, very, very useful property. So all you have to do is just, once again, in your container, you just say justify content, and where would you like to put it depends on you. So now my item starts by default from start. Okay, but I would like to place it in the center. Okay, and if I do so, you can see now they are placed in center. And if I put it like this way, okay, I mean, if I will shrink my browser, it will stay in the middle anyway. It will stay in the center as much as possible. Okay, so if you will get one column items, okay, you can see your column is still in the center, in the middle. If you get two columns, okay, your two columns are still in the middle of your web page. And this is what we call justify content. So we're justifying it horizontally. Okay, and let us move on. There is also a lot of properties: flex start, flex end, center, space between, space around, space evenly, or there is also start, end, left, right, and so on. Okay, and the most popular are center and other things. So depending where would you like to have your content. Okay, and one moment, please. Let's move on. And the next one is, how would you like to now vertically place your items? Okay, and align items allows you to define the behavior of your items across cross-axis, or let's say simply vertically. Okay, so if you would like it to be somewhere here, so now right now it's kind of what we call flex start. Okay, but we also can put it in the center of the page all the time. So not only vertically, or not only horizontally now, but also vertically. So let us do so. So align items center allows us to put our items in the center vertically. So now let's see. I think it won't work for this browser. Yeah, sorry, not align items. I think it also should be align content. My bad. Okay. So if we would like to justify or align our items horizontally, we should use align content, not align items. Okay. Align items defines the default behavior for how flexed items are laid out along the cross axis on the current line. So there is no current line. So and let's forget about this one now. We should use align content to place it in the center horizontally. Okay, align content, sorry, yes. And there is a note: this property only takes effects on multi-line flexible containers where flex wrap is set to either wrap or wrap reverse. A single line flexible container, example, where flex wrap is set to its default value or no wrap, will not reflect align content. Okay, and if we check, if we check our content now, it is still somewhere very close to the end, to the start of the page, so it's not exactly in the middle. But we will see the difference a little bit later when we provide margins and paddings to our items. Okay, so then we have also align self, so we can align individual items. For example, if we would like them to be placed somewhere else apart from its siblings. So if I would like, for example, a certain picture to be placed maybe at the beginning or at the end of the page, I could possibly say ID, or let's say class even. Okay, class, let's say no place, and then in the CSS styles I can say, for example, no place classes are going to be align itself somewhere else. Okay, so it's going to align self not following this property, but following its own property. Okay, so it works for individual items rather than for the whole content in the Flexbox container. Okay, so we're not going to use that right now. Okay, I just would like to show you that we have one. So we have align self, so it allows us individually place our items. So other things are flex. This is the shorthand for flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis combined. Those things. So the first one is flex grow. It says that defines the ability for flex items to grow if necessary. It accepts a unitless value that serves as a proportion. It dictates what amount of the available space inside the flex container the item should take up. Okay, so if we will have, let's say, 3 items, they all can evenly distribute space between it, or we can say like this. The first or the second item can take 2 spaces, while the first one and the third one are going to take only 1 space. Okay, so it's not evenly distributed between 3 items. It is like the second item takes more space than the others. Okay. So moving on, and let me refer to my notes. And one thing we forgot to add here, not only pictures, but let us add some headings. Okay, so I'm going to say image gallery. So if we go back and if we check, so now we have image gallery, and you can see it's kind of placed a little bit awkward. Okay, so image gallery, well, like this, it's fine, but when we have a little bit more space, okay, it looks a little bit awkward. So let us go back, and I think we should place it somewhere else. So outside of our container probably. So it won't consider it as an item of this one. Okay. And sorry, I need to answer this phone call. One moment, please. Sorry, I needed to get a taxi from my mom. Okay, so let's go back to our gallery, and this is how our image gallery now looks like. So we have our heading somewhere in the middle. Okay, so it's outside of our container box. Okay, so if you can see, it's outside of our Flexbox, so it's not inside of it. And for our H1, we also would like to make it a little bit more prettier. Okay, so we can provide, let's say, a font family. Okay, so I would like it once again refer to Google Fonts. Google.com, and let's say, well, I like this one a little bit. Okay, so I can select this style. I can copy these links. And if we go back to our page, I can place it here. Okay. And it also provides me CSS rules. Now, everything looks fine for me. And if we refresh our page, so this is my image gallery, and I also would like to place it center. So now it looks fine for me. Just let's make it a little bit bigger. So let me make 40 pixels now. Even 50 pixels would be great. Okay. Now I have an image gallery. Okay. I mean the heading and the actual items inside of my Flexbox. Okay. So next thing is let us make a little bit space between our items. So now our items are kind of merged together. So you can see there is no space between my horse picture and between this elephant's picture. Okay, so let us add, one moment, please. Okay. That one. Sorry for so much disturbance. Okay, let us continue, and let us go back to our image selector, and let us add now margins. So once again, margins are the space outside of our outside of the borders of the picture. So we can say margin, and let it be 5 pixels each. So if we do like this, there will be some space now between our pictures, okay? And it's evenly distributed between each item. So if we check it even like this, it will still have some place. Oh, sorry. One. Sorry, everyone. I got the call. My mom just arrived in the city, so I had to get taxi for her. Okay, so let us continue. So now we have some space between our items. Okay, it looks more prettier now. So the next thing we have to do is well, let us add box shadow and the border radius. Okay, so the first property is a box shadow. So let us add a little bit of shadow around our items, around our pictures. Okay, and I'm not quite aware of the box shadow property, so I can easily refer to CSS box shadow. Okay, and it will open W3 Schools or either Mozilla. Okay, so it says the following. Okay. The box shadow property attaches one or more shadows to an element. Okay, and this is the syntax and the property values: none, H offset, V offset, blur, spread, color. Okay, and those are the examples. So let us see some examples and decide for us which one is looks better. Okay, and example number 2 actually looks okay for us. So we're going to simply copy this property and place it for us. Okay. And let's see how our items are going to look like right now. Now, let's see. Well, it's a little bit a lot of shadows. Okay, so let us change it a little bit. So property, this offset should be 2 pixels. Oops, this one. A little bit of this one. We can play around with properties and find the most suitable for us. Okay, so now it looks fine. We can see a little bit of shadow. So now our pictures are more, how can I say, more attractive or more eye-catching. Okay, and the last thing is border radius. So we can say border radius and let's say 2 pixels. So you can see now the end of our each picture, okay, is not pointy anymore, so it's kind of curved. Okay, if we remove it, you will see the difference. Okay, you can see we've got the pointy end, right? So if we place the border radius, okay, and if we say like 2 pixels, or let's just say even 5 pixels, okay, to make it more even curvy, okay, this is how our pictures are gonna look like. Okay, so it looks like a card now. So our website looks like an image gallery, okay? Kind of. So that's the thing. Okay? So this is our image gallery. Okay, and the next thing I would like to show us today as well is that probably I showed you before, but if you open in the Google browser in Chrome, if you go to more tools and if you open developer tools, well, it will allow you with this button. With this button, you can check how your website is going to look like on different devices. So this is how it's going to look like on iPad. And let us let's zoom it. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like on iPad. iPad has the following resolution. Okay, so the width is 768 and the height is 1024. Okay, so and we can check different devices, or we can even add our own. So now we have the last one for iPhone XX. Okay, so iPhone X, this is how our web page is going to look like on iPhone X. Okay, and we can check for any other device. Well, I don't know what's the property of the biggest smartphone, but we can find on the internet and check how our web page is going to look like that um, on that smartphone. And we can also rotate it. So if you place your phone horizontally, this is how our web page is going to look like. Okay, and it's very nice. You can see it now. It responds to the size or to the resolution of the device, and it also responds to the way we see it. Okay, so if we are going to look at it vertically, this is how it's going to look like, and horizontally, if we place our device, this is how the content of our web page is going to look like. Okay, so it's pretty nice now, and it responds to our device, and well, it's now available. And if we place items like text, they are also going to be displayed correctly. Okay, so very nice. And as I said, CSS Flexbox allows you to make responsive websites with just a few properties. Okay, so that's I think now we're going to have a break. Let's have a break. So but before we go, let me share a key password so you can check your attendance, and then let's have 10 minutes break and we are going to continue. Okay. Hey everyone, let's continue and let's go back to our page. Okay, so this is how our image gallery now looks like. And I forgot to add a few things, a few touches here. Yes, so let's go back to our code, and I would like to add a bottoms border. So on my heading, okay. So if I go back to my heading, I would like to add bottom border bottom. I would like to make it 2 pixels solid and let it be also black. So if I add it, you can see now it's our text is kind of in the middle or in the center of the web page horizontally, but our borderline is kind of stretched. Okay, why is that? Is simply because if we inspect our heading, okay, and if we check the box model, okay, you can see that the content here, okay, is also stretched, okay. So there is no fixed value for width and height, okay, and that is why our border is also takes its space, okay. So the first thing we have to do is we need to justify the width for our content. So we can say width and let it be 400 pixels. And let our height also be 58 pixels. Okay. So if we check it now, okay, that looks fine. But there is something wrong with the. Oh, let's even make it 300 pixels. Okay. Okay, now it's fine. But still, something wrong with our heading. It's not in the middle of the page. It's aligned to the start of the page horizontally. So we can use the same property here. So we can use the same property to place our content horizontally. We can say justify content. Okay, and we can say center. Okay, and if we do that, well, nothing happens. Okay, why is that? Well, because our heading, okay, is not in the it's not the container item. Okay, so it doesn't belong to the container. So there is something else. And what do you think? How we can place our item horizontally, not horizontally without justify content. So justify content works only with display flex. So it works only with the flex box. Okay. So without the flex box, it doesn't work. So we won't place it with justify content. Any ideas how we can place our heading in the center of the page without using justify content? Anyone? Anyone? Something to do with margins. So now if we check our heading, it has no margins, okay, only top and bottom. So how we can place it, well, in the middle of the of its box. Now you can see, well, it's not in the middle of the box. How we can place it in the middle of the flex box? Oh, sorry, not flex box, but CSS flex box. Someone is proposing. Okay, thank you, Nazir. Yes, we can use margins, and the exactly margin auto will help us to place it in the middle of the flex box. So we can say margin and we can say auto, and let us see if it's going to work. Now it looks fine, and well, we placed our heading exactly where we wanted. Or if you would like to be more specific, we can say, well, top and bottom should be auto. Sorry, left and right should be auto, but top and bottom, well, I would like to be, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, so I would like to have some space from top and also between my heading and my items. Okay, so if I do so, that's what we are going to have. And now we have our margins on the left and right, so it places right in the middle, and we have 20 pixels between our headings, between our heading and between our items, between our flexbox. Okay, so that's how our image gallery now looks like. Okay, so if you play around with the size of your screen, the content will respond to it, and this is what we call responsive design. Okay, and there are other things I would like to tell you today. The first one is to work with or to understand better Flexbox. You can play a game. It is called FlexFoggy. FlexFoggy is a game for learning CSS Flexbox. So if you open it, this is how it looks like. Okay, so you will have 24 different levels. Okay, and it tells you what you need to do. So here, for example, justify content flex end will move the frog to the right. So now you need to place that frog on this leaf. Okay, so we need to just write justify content flex end. Okay, and see, now it is placed exactly where it should be. So if we click next, we will get to the next level. Okay, so this is a very nice game to understand CSS Flexbox a little bit more, well, a little bit more better. Okay, so moving on, and today I also would like to talk about the following thing. I would like to talk about CSS3. So last time we talked about HTML5 and HTML4. We checked the difference between HTML4 and HTML5. Now let us see what CSS3 brings us. Okay, so CSS, as you know, it's a standard that constantly evolves, so to adapt to new demands of web technologies. And CSS3 is the latest evolution of CSS, okay, where we have, well, new properties, new features that helps us to make our websites absolutely beautiful. Okay. However, we have different developers for different browsers. And I probably told you last time that for Mozilla, you have one group of developers. For Google Chrome, you have another group of developers, and so on. And for Internet Explorer, for any other browser. Okay. Now, in an ideal world, everybody agrees on what CSS does and how new features and properties should be implemented. But that's not simply the case. Okay, some browsers might work with some properties, some might not. Okay, because they haven't gotten around to making it work. Okay? And let's add one of my favorite features of CSS3, where we hover over mouse over the images and it kind of moves. Okay, so let us see how it's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to say in image here, I'm going to say transition, and I'm going to say 1 second. Okay, and the next thing I would like to use is not just 1 second, sorry, all 1 second should be. Okay, and the next property is, sorry, the next selector that we should do is called image. And you remember we used hover to react if we put our mouse over an item. Okay, so let's do the following. So if we say image hover and we say transform, okay, transform, and we say scale 1.1, and a scale 1.1, and so the next one should be animation. Let's say forward. And let's see if it's going to work like this. So now I said that my images should react to transitions all in 1 second. Okay. And if we put if I put my mouse over images, it should transform. Okay, it should scale from 1 to 1.1. So now, of course, our images are 100%. They have the dimension. But if we put our mouse, it should scale a little bit. So it should increase in size. And let's see how it's going to work. So let's see how it's going to work. Now I refresh my page. And if I put my mouse, sorry, a moment. If I put my mouse, you can see how it reacts now. It increases in size. And it does it in 1 second. Okay, so it doesn't do it immediately. So it takes 1 second. So it shows some kind of a scaling here. Okay, and it looks more beautiful now. So you can see if we put our mouse here, it scales, and here it also scales, and it doesn't jump back to the original scale. It doesn't back to the original state. It also smoothly goes back. Okay, so it smoothly scales to 1.1%, and it also smoothly scales out to 1% to 1 point also. Okay. And if you would like to have something like this, you can use those properties. Okay, and those properties are, once again, so for your image, you say transition all 1 second, or you can make it even faster. So if you don't like it to take 1 second, you can make it faster. So now it's going to, react a little bit quicker. And the transform should be scale. So you should say that it should scale to 1.1, from 1 to 1.1, right? So if you want, you can say 1.5, and it will grow a lot, very big. So you can see how big it grows. So this is how it scales. Okay, but let it be 1.1 now. And animation, how would you like it to grow? And you say forwards, so that's why it grows forwards. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's a little bit of CSS for today. Okay, and now and the last touches, probably I don't like that we have space here. Okay, so probably I need to go back to our CSS and say our body should have margins 0 pixels. Okay, so, and it will help us a lot.
Ali.
So now we don't have this annoying margins around it. Okay. Okay, so that's simply it for today's lesson. Okay, at least I hope so. And sorry, I forgot to tell you. I showed you those transitions, but the most important part is that it doesn't work on all browsers. Okay, so how do we check whether a certain property works on every browser? Okay, so if we go to, let's say, CSS box shadow property, okay, and in W3 schools, you've got this what we call browser support, okay, and it says the following: the number in the table specifies the first browser version that fully supports the property, okay, a number followed by, let's say, WebKit or Moz specifies the first version that work with the prefix. Okay, so our browser, my current version of the browser, I don't even know. So my current version is 993. So it's kind of very, very updated Google Chrome. Okay. But it wasn't always like this. Okay. So maybe 10 years ago, or let's say even 5 years ago, our version of the browser was like something like 10. Okay. Or even let's say 9. Okay. So if you would have, let's say, Google Chrome version 9, okay, that box shadow property wouldn't work for you. You wouldn't see that box shadow around your images. Okay. Why is that? Because it was fully supported started from version 10. So if you would have, let's say, version 9, then if it wouldn't work for you. In order for you to work properly with box shadow, okay, it's to use this prefix. Okay, so we say WebKit. WebKit is for Google Chrome. Then we have Moz for Mozilla. We have also the same property. WebKit also works for Safari, and for Opera is something else, but I don't reckon it right now. So we are going to find another property that has all of it. Okay, so let's see if we would like to run, or if we would like to show box shadow, okay, on our on very old browsers, for example, version even 4, or let's say version 5. For that purpose, we need to use this prefix. We need to say WebKit, okay, and in our, for example, where is the box shadow here? Okay, in our image, we should say also WebKit box shadow, like this, and we can also copy these properties. Okay, now with this prefix, okay, our box shadow will work also on very, very old versions of Chrome. It will work on 4.0 at least. Okay, so if we do not specify this prefix, okay, it will start working only from version 10. Okay, so you can see there are 6 versions between version 4 and version 10. And if for some, I don't know, if for some reason some people are still using old browsers, okay, they won't probably see your box shadows. Okay, so in order for you to incorporate all of them, it's very useful for sometimes for some properties to use the prefixes. Okay, so the first thing you do is simply you write for the current versions. Okay? So you simply write box shadow. And in order for you to incorporate people with browsers, very old browsers, you need to probably write something like WebKit box shadow. And you also need to write it for everything. So you need to say probably Moz, and then you need to say box shadow, and also do the same thing. So as well, by doing this, you are actually ensuring that your visuals or your CSS is going to work properly on all browsers. Okay, so it's not very hard. It takes you more time, of course, maybe 2 or 3 more seconds. But by doing it, you're actually making sure that more people can access your website. And other things are, for example, for transition, it's even newest property. So I think this one came with CSS3. So let us find it. Transition. Let's find even transform. Transform. Well, 3D transform came from version 36. So it's kind of new, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And in order for us to run it on versions 12, okay, we need to use WebKit. And you can see for Opera, it's the same. We also need to write WebKit, but for Internet Explorer, we need to write MS, so Microsoft probably. Okay. So this is what we need to do in order to incorporate all browsers. We need to write it, our properties with prefixes as well. So that's something that comes together with CSS3. So when they develop new properties, they haven't agreed how it should look like on that versions of browsers. So previously they had version 36, for example, when a transform came, okay? But they haven't agreed how it should look like on version 4. So that's why they developed their own kind of rendering. So that's why in order to render the page properly, we need to use WebKit prefix. Okay. Once again, it's for inclusiveness and it's in order to accommodate more people. Well, basically that's it for today. And I showed you that in developer tools, you can go to devices. Okay, so if you open developer tools and if you go to toggle device toolbar, you can check how the page is going to look like on different devices. Okay, and this is how W3 Schools looks like on iPhone X, and kind of really nice property they have. And everything looks great. So I think that's it for today. And thank you all for attending the lecture. Okay.